Okay, Grots and Gits, we're back. This detachment is very, very cool. Now, just as a super, like big, hey, check it out. There are going to be some weird combinations in here, and this is going to take a little bit of practice. I personally think that this is a totally fine detachment. There's going to be some interesting things that people will come up with because I will miss things here, and it's going to happen. So this is the initial walkthrough. I'll be back with another one maybe in a week when we've had time to go through everything to see what we can tease out of it. So this detachment is uh, the final day, and the final day is going to be an allies detachment. So you are running the Genestealer Cults, but you get to bring 500 points of Tyranids. Now, interestingly enough, the Tyranids is not really that restricted. So let's read the detachment rule. The Psionic Parasitism. This is pretty cool. At the end of your movement phase, and this is nice that so the ability procs at the end of the movement phase, not command phase, so it's much easier to plan for. For each Tyranid's synapse unit from your army, you can select one friendly Genestealer Cults unit, not including the Genestealers and Patriarch, and one friendly Tyranids unit, each within 9 inches of and visible to said synapse unit. If you do, the Genestealer Cults unit will suffer D3 plus 1 mortals, and one model in the selected Tyranids unit will regain up to that many lost wounds. And now, until the start of your next movement phase, each time a model is selected, the Tyranids unit, a model in the selected Tyranids unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. Now, interestingly enough, I don't think this detachment is going to end up using this rule all that often. That doesn't mean that this doesn't work and it's not good. So bear with me here, okay? Tyranids units from your army have the following ability. Catalyst. This is an aura. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of any Tyranids unit, not even Synapse, just Tyranids unit, then all Genestealer Cults units are going to be +1 to the hit roll when they make attacks. Now, this is in shooting and in melee. So anytime you have Tyranids units that are within 6 inches of an enemy, all your GSC get +1 to hit. That's solid. This is going to be used all the time. Now, and I'm going to tell you why in just a moment. Now, this is the restrictions on the Tyranids units that you can bring. You can include Tyranids Vanguard Invader units, excluding aircraft, Broodlord, and Genestealer units in your army. The combined points cost of such units depends on the battle size. So up to 1,000 points of your army can be Tyranid Vanguard Invader units. Now, you're not almost never going to take 1,000 points of your army like that, but just so you know. Now, no Tyranid models from your army can be the Warlord. So before we go any further, I'm just going to read to you the list of Vanguard Invader units that you can actually take. That way, we're all operating under the same knowledge base, because this can be a little confusing. Firstly, the characters you can take, and this is not restricted. You can take any of these characters except for the Broodlord. You can bring Death Leaper. I think you're always bringing Death Leaper. You can bring Parasite of Mortrax. I think you're probably going to consider bringing him. You can bring the Winged Hive Tyrants. Chances are high you're going to bring him. And then you can also bring a Winged Tyranid Prime. I'm not sure you're going to bring him. Then we have Gargoyles. Gargoyles are very useful. They have the scoot and shoot. Everyone likes gargoyles. Deep strike, scoot and shoot on them. I'm not certain you're going to bring gargoyles, but the fact that they're an option is nice. You can actually bring dedicated transport hilariously with a Tyrannocyte, but you're not doing that. Genestealers you can't bring, so don't worry about that. Harpy and Hive Crone you can't bring because they're aircraft. But what you can bring is the Lictors, which I can basically guarantee you every single one of these Genestealer Cults armies are going to start with 3 Lictors. Like, why wouldn't you bring Lictors, which is the most effective loan-up unit in the game, making it also very easy to early on get within 6 inches of an enemy unit to proc the +1 to hit for all of your Genestealer Cults units. The Mawloc, which is a very, very fascinating option to be able to proc all the mortal wounds everywhere. This is also very fascinating to me. Neurolictors, being able to pop battle shocks in your command phase when you're running Genestealer Cults. Man, there's going to be some interesting things you can do with that. Raveners, an uppy downy, fast moving unit that has a lot of anti-infantry attacks. The Trigon, which with its most recent nerf, I tend to think you're not going to want to be bringing the Trigon. But there's a reason why you might, because there's just reasons that we'll talk about. And then Von Ryan's Leapers, which are also going to be infiltrators with the turn 1 charge options as well. And I think Von Ryan Leapers are really also not bad options. They're really not that expensive. 70 points for 3 of them. They infiltrate. They have stealth. They fight first. They're 6 attacks each, strength 5, AP 1, damage 1. And there's going to be some strats that we can use on them because this detachment does support strats for Tyranids as well. This is going to be a very interesting detachment. It's going to take us a while to tease out all the intricacies. So let's go through some of these enhancements. The first enhancement we're going to talk about is the Synaptic Auger for 15 points. This can only go on a Tyranids model. So you're going to be putting this on, oh, I don't know, like a Parasite, a Hive Tyrant, a Winged Hive Tyrant. There's an option where you might actually take a Winged a Winged Tyranid Prime, although I just kind of doubt that's going to happen. Each time the bearer would regain one or more lost wounds from the Psionic Parasitism detachment rule, it regains up to twice that number of lost wounds. This is kind of cool. So if you take the winged Tyrant, which is an interesting option because remember, he can give himself like free CP usage and stuff, which is pretty dang cool. There's reasons to do it, right? Now, he can only give the free CP or reduce the cost of CP by 1 to Tyranids units, but you could do that to half of your army in this detachment, including himself. It's interesting. So he only has 10 wounds, but now you can sacrifice D3+1 models, and let's say 4 models from a Genestealer Cults unit dies, you can heal up to 8 wounds in a turn with this on your Winged Hive Tyrant. That's pretty cool, to be honest with you. Like there's some reality there where you just heal your boy up. All right, now we look at the Enraptured Damnation. This goes only on Genestealer Cults models. Enemy units cannot use Fire Overwatch to shoot at the bearer's unit. This is cool. This could work for Aberrants, potentially. This can also work for your Acolytes or your Metaboars. There's reality where, hey, it's nice to... you can't Overwatch me. Then we have the Vanguard Tyrant. This only goes on the Winged Hive Tyrant, but you will improve the strength and AP characteristic of its melee weapons equipped by the bearer by 1. So suddenly it's Bone Sword, which is going to be twin linked anyway, goes up to strength 10, AP 3, and you're probably going to kit him out with pure melee, especially seeing as GSC kind of struggles with the melee thing. So you're going to give him the extra attacks with the claws, normally strength 7, going up to strength 8, AP 3 on them. This actually makes a big difference, and it really makes this Winged Tyrant much killier in melee. Then we have the Inhuman Integration for 20 points. Genestealer Cults model only. Weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit have sustained hits 1 while targeting enemy unit within 6 inches of 1 or more friendly Tyranid units. So you get sustained hits 1, and it's really not hard to get enemy units within 6 inches of friendly Tyranids units. Because remember, you could basically just start your army with Death Leaper and three freaking Lictors. You've got 4 very powerful infiltrating lone ops. Boom, right off the bat. It's not a bad place to start an army that doesn't have access to that otherwise. The amount of lone ops you can get in this army is actually kind of crazy when you think about it. You can go 3 Lictors, you can go Death Leaper, and then you can also go Von Ryan Leapers if you want, which I don't think you should, but you could. And then you can also go Verdictus Saboteurs. Like, the amount of lone op infiltrating units is kind of insane when you start breaking it down. There's going to be some super cool stuff that people are going to build out of this one. It's just going to take a moment because it doesn't have the obvious, like, oh, this is busted. But armies don't have to be busted, remember? And some of the combos that people can find, I'm sure, are going to be pretty good. Let's read about Hyper Ferocity. This is in the fight phase. This only applies to 1 Genestealer Cults unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets an enemy unit, reroll a wound roll of 1. Alright, so reroll wound rolls of 1. Nice, good. If 1 or more friendly Tyranids units are within 6 inches of the enemy unit, now you can reroll the wound roll. This becomes disgusting when you combine this with your, say, Patriarch and Pure Strain Genestealers unit, because now suddenly they get to fish for dev. This gets brutal. This actually gets very, very brutal. Okay, now we're looking at the Psi Surge. Start of any phase, 1 Tyranids unit from your army. Until the start of your next command phase, increase the range of your unit's Catalyst ability by 3 inches. So instead of being 6 inches to get +1 to hit to all of your GSC units, or, proccing for, say, the strat above, which is going to be within 6 inches for the reroll strats. Now it's going to be 9. That's a much, much bigger difference, bigger distance to cover with your Catalyst ability. There is a restriction on it, so basically you can only use it once per turn. Or once per battle round, because once you've used it, you can't use it again until the end of your next command phase. So, okay, it is what it is. Then we have Divine Imperative. When your charge phase, 1 Genestealer Cults unit from your army that has not declared a charge this phase. Select 1 enemy unit from within engagement range of one or more Tyranid units from your army. Remember, this is engagement range, not catalyst range. That's important. Until the end of the phase, each time your GSC unit declares a charge, if the enemy unit is one of the targets of that charge, add 1 to charge rolls, and you can reroll the charge roll. I don't particularly think this is that great a strat. It gives you reroll charges and +1 to charge. Rerolling an 8-inch charge out of Deep Strike, for example, would give you, what is it, like a 60% success rate? It's okay. Whatever. I don't think that's one that you're going to use all that often, to be honest with you. Then we have darting attacks. Your shooting phase or your charge phase, 1 Tyranid unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, your unit is now eligible to shoot and declare charge in a turn in which it fell back. You'll use this. Now suddenly you could just fall back and charge with your winged prime or with your winged tyrant if he happens to be engaged. You can fall back and charge with other units that you might have taken. If you had taken a Trigon, for example, although I don't think you want Trigons, although healing him up, getting him +1 to hit, there's options. So fall back and charge is very useful. It's a little sad that it only works on half your army, and it isn't just you get to fall back and charge, but it's still useful. Then we look at Avenge the Star Children. When your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase just after an enemy unit has shot or fought. Target 1 Tyranid's character unit from your army that was destroyed by the enemy unit this phase. You can use the stratagem on that unit even though it was just destroyed. Until the end of the battle, each time a Genestealer Cults model from your army makes an attack that targets the enemy unit, add 1 to the hit roll and 1 to the rune roll. So let's say something kills Death Leaper. Well, now all of your GSC is going to be at +1 to hit and wound to that unit for the rest of the game. This is pretty valuable, honestly. A lot of times people will have to send something a little bit beefier in order to handle the winged tyrants, which means now the rest of your GSC part of the army get +1 to hit and wound. It's interesting. And then lastly, we've got Resistance Tunnels. This works on GSC or Tyranids units. Uppy downy 1 unit at the end of your opponent's fight phase, without the restriction of saying they have to come in next turn. Very powerful. Uppy downy is always good. You can uppy downy, I don't know, Lictors. You can uppy downy your freaking Hive Tyrant. There's a lot of options on this, and there's a lot of play with this. You can uppy downy Aberrants that you may be taking. Your Patriarch unit with the GSC, or with the Genestealers. Pure Strain Genestealers, to be clear. This is a pretty cool detachment. There's going to be a lot of ways to run this. I know I'm probably going to get a bunch of negative people in the comment section who's going to say, blah, 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 you just don't understand. I get it, whatever. I am tired of hearing people bitch and moan for no reason. Like, there are some seriously cool combinations out of all of these detachments, and there's going to be ways to play them. You just haven't given it a chance to think it through. I'm really excited to hear some of the creativity that people are going to come up with this one in particular, because 1,000 points of your armies being Tyranids and 1,000 points of your armies being GSC, there's going to be some combinations we really have not considered yet. And I'm pretty pumped up to hear exactly what that is. Yep. So guys, with that, I'm going to go and end this one. I do have something that I'm excited about releasing later today. And end of the week, we're going to have a massive announcement. It was supposed to be today, but sadly, we had to delay it a little bit just because of things. Anyway, if you like this content, hit the like, then subscribe, and share it with all your friends, because that is the way YouTube lets me know that I'm doing a good job, and it's the way that I get supported from YouTube. So with that, I'm going to take off, and I appreciate all of you. Hope you have a crumpin' day. Bye-bye.